everyone, it's Jessica. Thank you for being with me today. It is Mystery Envelope Challenge time with my friends from the Makers with Heart group. And this month, Lori Kutch is the one who sent our envelope out. She has sent us a blank card here, some pumpkin cardstock and limeade cardstock. Those are both some new colors. And then also it looks like some stamped and die cut pieces from the Gnomes for Autumn scrapbooking stamp set, which is really cool because I have that stamp set and maybe I can use that in my project. Let's see, her rules here basically say we're focusing on fall because she loves it, and we need to use some sort of the color acorn, which is a new color because she really loves that. So I have some Thanksgiving pictures here, and like I said, I think I might use my own stamp set and do a couple additional images from there. And then since we are focusing on fall, I pulled two different collections. So this one here is the Gnomes for Autumn. It is a special, and as you can see, some really pretty and cute fall papers there. And then I also have Cozy Up, which I haven't really had a chance to play with much yet. Again, another fall themed collection, and both of those paper packs have a lot of similar colors in common. So I think it'll be really easy to mix and match and kind of pull the two papers together when I am doing my layout. So I am working from the new Make It From Your Heart Volume 6 book. This is pattern number 3. It calls for a bunch of 2-inch squares, some of them cut in half into triangles. So again, I did a little combination there of papers from either paper pack, and I'm just going to use my ink pads to edge distress all of the different papers before I start gluing them down. Now, she wants us to focus on that color acorn somehow because she really loves it. So I decided to mat my photos in that color cardstock and then use my acorn ink to edge distress those as well. Okay, I thought at first this was going to be a really easy layout to do because again, just a couple of 2-inch squares here in 4 different pattern papers. But what I wasn't thinking of is that some of my papers actually had a direction to them. And when I go to set them down, according to this layout, I quickly realized that they were not all going to end up facing in the same way. So depending on which way they had to go down, some of them got turned one way and some another way. And so I just decided that rather than going back to the drawing board and picking different papers, I was just going to embrace the chaos. So I also found it a little bit challenging to work with some of these triangle pieces. You can see I did start with the tape runner, and I found that that was not a good idea because in the beginning I did have to pull a couple of those triangles up as I was trying to get them down and started correctly because I figured I got to start exactly right in order to build off of these. Otherwise it's going to go all askew. So I did switch over to the liquid glue. And I also found that it was easier to kind of start with one diagonal and then kind of do all of the triangles and the squares down that diagonal before moving to the next triangle to the right across the top of the page. I found that that was the best way to make sure that everything lined up correctly. And in the final product, I do have a couple of margins that are a little bit, different size than others, but I think it's okay. Again, I just decided to embrace some of that chaos, and I really love the way that this pattern came together. So again, pattern number 3 from the Make It From Your Heart Volume 6 book. Really loving playing with that. Okay, I'll go ahead and get my photos down. I did double mat them, so they've got a little bit of a white border as well. I just have the 3 pictures from this year. In fact, I did have to text my sister and say, am I missing any from this year? Because it seemed like I had more. But we have kind of started this tradition of taking some pictures of the kids and the family on my parents' staircase. And I think I was confusing some Christmas pictures with some Thanksgiving pictures. And nope, between the two of us, these were all the pictures we had from that day. Okay, so I am using that stamp set. I think I'm going to go with one of the sentiments on there that says, gather with grateful hearts. Perfect for a Thanksgiving layout. And I'm going to use my acorn ink just to make Lori happy. And I think that it's a really great way to kind of put that color into the layout just a little bit more since I do have it in my photo mats. So I very carefully inked it up, checked my black because it is a little intimidating to stamp onto your layout. In fact, I wasn't very happy with the stamping that I did the first time I set it down. So I did re-ink my stamp and stamp it a second time. And it turned out okay. But again, a little bit intimidating when you're stamping directly onto your layout. especially after gluing all of those triangles and squares down. All right, so I've gone ahead off camera, and like I said, I did stamp and die cut a few more pieces from that same stamp set, just like what she sent us. And I did color them with my tri-blend markers. So now I'm just kind of playing around with where to put them all. And it did take me a long time to make some of those decisions. So I cut a little bit of that out just to save you, because I know it was driving me nuts, and I would hate to drive you nuts with that process as well. But I am thinking about that visual triangle. I know I want something down here in the corner of that title. And right off the bat, I love that one pumpkin cluster that has the sunflower and the mushroom. So I stopped fussing with that. And really, it's just the other 2 points in my visual triangle that were giving me some trouble. So I don't know. I thought that there was too much white space here in between where the photos were and those squares kind of ended. So I was trying to fill that in a little bit. But then I really liked the pumpkin. It was so cute. I wanted to use that somewhere else also. So I ended up moving the pumpkin down to the title, and I was trying to use the sunflowers up by the pictures. And it definitely took a little bit of fussing to make it all come together the way that I wanted it to. You can see I did put a couple of leaves sticking out from the top of my right-hand picture there, but I do have everything glued down. Some of those die cut pieces I did have glued a couple of layers of cardstock thick, and some I also used some foam tape on. So I've got lots of different kinds of dimension happening on my clusters. Okay, again, mixing and matching collections. I have these enamel dots from the Crisp Air collection from last year, and they're not all exactly the same colors, but you know what? They're fall colors. And so I went ahead and I grabbed some of the dots and the hearts that I believe are in a papaya color, which is not anywhere on my layout, but again, I think that it totally works. And then I did use my white gel pen to add a couple of dots to these darling little mushrooms. And then I thought, well, I've got it out. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of white accent to some of the smaller flowers. So I didn't do this to the bigger sunflower, just the 2 small ones. And then the next thing I did is I grabbed my gold shimmer brush. I love this thing. I love all the shimmer brushes, but if ever you are kind of wondering where to begin, I would say clear and gold. They are just so much fun to add to your project. So I'm going to go over the leaves, and then I will also go over the pumpkins with a little bit of gold shimmer. It's hard to see it on camera or in the still shots, but in real life, it is just so beautiful to have that little sparkle there. And then the final little touch here is I've grabbed some liquid glass, and I'm just adding a generous amount to the center of all of my sunflowers. It goes on a little bit cloudy, but as it dries, it clears up, and it just adds a really beautiful bit of dimension and like a glossy accent to your die cuts. So that's going to be it. I'll put my journaling down there. There's not a whole lot to say. And that's it for this layout. So I love the Mystery Envelope Challenge. It's one of my favorite things to do every month with my friends. I will leave a playlist in the description box down below so you can see what all of the other Makers with Heart did with their pieces that they got sent in the envelope from Lori. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have been inspired, and I hope your fall is off to a great start. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Happy crafting. Bye.